I imagine you wake up in the mornings and pinch yourself because you get to work with your dad every day.
Oh, I'm so excited.
So here's the deal. Quee's had this pond for a number of years, had it built by a landscaper, doesn't love it. Has wanted us to redo it for quite a long time, and this is the year he's like, I'm finally pulling the trigger, we're doing this thing. The reason he doesn't love it is it doesn't feel like it's really part of the space. And it's because of this wall. So they've got this wall built up, you know, here's about a foot, there's about like 18 inches, right? And there's a clear separation between the living space, which is the patio and this walkway, and the pond. So we're gonna take this down completely. This whole thing's coming out, the landscaping's coming out. We're gonna save a few plants that they really like, but the rest they said they're gonna redo it when we're done. What Quee said this morning was, you guys are gonna build the room, we're gonna come in later and decorate the room. So they're excited about the landscaping portion of it, which is fantastic because they've done a great job with this one. I can't imagine what they're gonna do with the new one. We're gonna do our Tranquility Elite 10 by 14 pond, 10-foot stream, and we're gonna really bring it up closer to everything. So we're gonna get it down in the ground. We'll probably do like a feeding rock over here where you're standing, maybe another feeding rock over here where this little cafe table patio sits. And we're gonna be about 2 foot deep, fish cave, lights, you know, the whole shooting match. But back here, we're gonna push this waterfall back because they've got the lake back here, which is a whole nother space for them. They spend time out here. And if you stand right here, can you hear the waterfall at all? No, it just disappears, right? So all these grasses are coming out. We're gonna leave the barberries. This guy's coming out. When we set our biofalls over here, we're gonna actually turn it kind of facing this way. So it's gonna fall out, go into a pool, turn, and then head down towards the pond. That's gonna give them not only the visual, but it's also gonna give them the sound. So they're sitting out here, they'll be able to hear the waterfall, they'll be able to see it because we're gonna remove all this stuff. And now it just includes this whole space, which is, I mean, it's awesome. We're gonna, hey look, there's a heron.
Yeah, that's good. Is that a heron or a swan?
No, it's a egret.
I can't see.
So we've got two things to focus on. Not only the windows and stuff and that whole patio space at the house, we've got this as well. So it's gonna be important that we align this biofalls where we start it so that we get that nice, probably like a 1 foot drop coming out into a cool pooling area, and then it makes a really hard right-hand turn before it goes back down to the pond.
Sounds good.
We got our tank set up here with our net and our tent over it. That'll protect the fish. I want to save all these aquatic plants that are in here. I want to save all this stone because it's all really nice. It's got a lot of lichen on it. I think we might actually use this in the bottom of the pond, give it a really cool like sandstone look in the bottom. And even underneath those shelves where we're going to have that feeding rock, we could have Anthony or Boley do one of those really nice stacked stone walls to kind of support that rock. And then we'll bring in our nice field stone boulders to surround it. Then all these plants that have the ribbons on them, let's get them dug out carefully, put off to the side. And the rest of it, I want to save as much as we can, but some of it's just trash, like these old junipers and stuff they're not gonna do well if we take them out. Those grasses are trash, so are those roadies, so we're gonna get rid of all that stuff. And we gotta lay a plywood road along the whole lawn to get those machines back here. So I'd say you guys get started with this, get it all cleaned out and dismantled. Those guys are on the way and we're gonna rock and roll.
All right.
But before we dive deep into the construction, let's talk about some common mistakes we often see on your DIY projects. Something I commonly see people struggle with is hiding the biological filter or the waterfall filter. We see this a lot where it's just exposed and maybe there's a rock leaning over it. They might have had a hard time figuring out how to make this thing actually disappear and become just part of the landscape, part of the waterfall. It's functional because it does its job to clean the water, but you don't want to see the parts and pieces that make it work. So you're going to see how we take the new installation with the new biofalls and actually make it disappear and become part of the whole environment instead of something that sticks out and it kind of takes away and detracts from what should be a beautiful waterfall. The other thing that we see a lot is stuff like this, where there is a large rock sitting on the back of it. What'll tend to happen over time, it'll push this whole thing down and start to sink on the backside. Then you get water that starts to go out the backside of the waterfall, causing a leak. We do have a couple issues here with our liner where it kind of dips back and goes down below what the water level is. And we got the same thing on this side. Those are all definitely points where it could leak as well. When we install our new biofalls, we'll go over how we actually not only hide the filter, but make it so that it works fundamentally. All right, this is pretty much what we never want to see. The bottom of our excavation is full of water. There's groundwater coming into this, the bottom of this pond. Right now, you can see this pile of mud here. The water just keeps coming in. So how are we going to deal with this? We're going to do what's called an under drain system. We're going to actually dig a trough right down the center of this with a couple branches going off, especially going towards the skimmer, because we don't want that to float either. If we didn't deal with this groundwater and we just built the pond, that liner would push up because of all that pressure from the water underneath, would push up and would dislodge probably a lot of the gravel that's going to be on the bottom here, and maybe even some of the rocks. It especially becomes a problem if you empty the pond out. It kind of floats like a balloon. So to alleviate that pressure, we're going to put an underdrain system. We're going to dig a trough. Then we're going to actually line it with a soil separation fabric. We're going to put a pipe in, and then we're going to have stone that surrounds the entire thing. So it's going to be a big French drain. We're going to come across the entire center of the pond over to the far side here. And since there's no way for us to daylight this water out where there's a lower spot that we could just run a pipe out, we're gonna have to put a sump in. This is what our sump looks like. This is a 15-inch ADS road pipe. This is a heavy wall construction pipe. This is gonna go in vertical at the far end of the pond, way over here, down in the ground, below everything we're doing. What that's gonna do is allow us to run our drainage pipe into the side of this, down towards the bottom. Then all the water should be able to be evacuated from here. So when they're going to empty the pond out in the springtime to do a cleaning, they can drop a pump inside this pipe, pump that water out to alleviate the pressure while they're doing the cleaning, and it won't move the liner. We run into this scenario maybe once a year, and this is that one time. So we're going to show you how we get this under drain system in, then we can finally get back to constructing our pond. All right, so we've got our excavation right down the center of the pond, as well as we dug a trough right over to the skimmer. So I've got a pipe that tees into our main branch line and goes right over vertical to the skimmer. So any water that makes it under or around the skimmer is going to hit this gravel patch with the pipe in it and flow into our under drain going out that way. We've used this road fabric. It's a soil separation fabric. That's going to keep that mud and stuff from infiltrating this and clogging it in the future. And you could see how, you can't see, but things have tightened up tremendously already. Like I can actually walk on this now. This was just nothing but straight mud in here. I don't know if you can see my shoes, but pretty muddy. So now we'll finish bringing all this drainage gravel up to the grade of our bottom of our pond floor. And then we're gonna put our sump in where Colby's standing down the end. That's where everything's gonna end. So the whole thing gets lined in this fabric. We're gonna get all our gravel in, all our pipe and drainage, and then we're gonna tighten it all up. We're actually gonna put another layer of fabric on top of it before we put our pond underlayment there. So there'll be no soil between this fabric and our stone. So this thing should work perfectly. It's actually made it all ready so that we can actually work in here now. Crucial to understand the soil conditions and the digging conditions you're dealing with when you're putting in a pond. If you're digging your own pond and you hit water, you have to find a way to get that water out and keep it out, because it will cause you major problems in the future.